It's fine.
Should I turn any of those lights on, do you think?
No, it's fine.
Hey, how is this? Is this better? Yeah, everything's good there. Paul, how is this? Can you hear us okay? And how's the quality? Does it seem to be better?
It's good, and if it gets a little bad, I'll get off because we don't want to overtax the system.
Oh, right.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience for these technological glitches. Certainly something where we have to learn to surrender control, which is really challenging. It's like, at this point, I'm just like, okay, I can't do anything about it, but I'm going to do my best and show up. It's like
and I'm really appreciating you guys coming back. Welcome back, Allison and Bill, Christine and Larry, Lusana from Hawaii. Thank you. So while we're waiting for people to come back in, anybody want to share anything that kind of any ahas from what you've heard or seen so far?
I know we just went over owning the consequences of our actions, choices, behaviors on ourselves and others. To what degree do we feel like we've developed that skill in ourselves? Anybody want to share?
Anybody want to share?
Yeah, I just want to acknowledge that that's a really powerful thing for you guys to bring up for everybody who wants to aspire to this heart ninja thing, because I think the dirty secret is that our conscience is the hardest thing for us to face. And when we get bonded to someone and then we hurt them, I think we're afraid to admit how awful we feel to face the damage that we do. I think it's our greatest opportunity for redemption, but it is one of the hardest feelings to sit with, is what an awful rat I am to have said that to that person and made them feel that way for God's honest, no good reason. I was too selfish, I was too small, and look what I just did. You know, and then to have to face like what a dirt I am, you know, and how out of control I am. And I think that that moment of reflection can be hard to bear. And I think it keeps a lot of people in anger and reaction and self-justification and defensiveness just because they don't want to face the remorse.
Yeah.
Doug, that's so right on. That's so right on. And, you know, one of these things that we teach is that when we're in that place where it's like, oh my God, I don't want to face consequence of what I said or did, the ego comes to the rescue. And I like to think of the ego as a faithful dog that's really just trying to protect its master, and it only cares about its master. And we have what we call the 5 Ds, 5 things that we do when our ego comes in to protect us from acknowledging the consequences. And the first one is defending ourselves. We defend ourselves, or we diminish it. Oh, it's not that bad. Or we're trying to deflect it. Look, a UFO.
Or just distract to any other subject rather than, you know, really dropping into it.
Yeah. Or we try and dominate. You know, we get really angry and we out-dominate that person.
Or we make it about it's their fault. We blame, shame, make them wrong.
Mm-hmm. Or we deny it. No, I never did it. I didn't say that.
I don't have a problem drinking. I've got it all under control.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So the 5 Ds are denial, defensiveness, diminishing, dominating,
and deflection. So it's really good just to go, oh wow, where do I notice that I do those? Because usually in different scenarios you might bring certain of those up that you might really run, but there might be certain ones that you really like. Oh wow, I notice that when I get triggered, I go into dominating because I'm a really powerful woman and I definitely have a lot of self-righteousness that I developed. And so I go into really becoming bigger. And honestly, what's underneath is that I'm actually really scared. But it's what worked for me when I was a kid. I get really like big and puff up and be like, blah, blah, blah. But underneath that is just that scared little girl. So just underneath a lot of those patterns is usually the deeper feelings that, you know, that we don't want to face.
Yeah. So the 5 Ds, how's the video and audio quality? Is it good? Oh, yay.
Okay,
Thank
yay.
you.
So
Okay,
good.
we
Thanks for
switched over
coming back
here.
on.
All right, well, let's go back to our share screen then and go to the next one.
You know, it's just a reminder too, when things don't go our way, how do we respond? Right? So right now I could be running a story that we just blew it and we held you up, and now you have a certain story that we're not cool and good teachers because of our internet stuff. And I could run that story and it could really disconnect me for the rest of my time together. Or I can go, you know what? That was out of my control. We did the best we can. I'm really happy to be back. That's the superpower that I want to develop, is like, do I want to focus on being in the trigger and the deficiency? Or do I want to go, whoa, I couldn't control that, but hey, I'm here and this is the way I'm showing up.
And thank you, everybody, for being willing to take a little break and come back in. I really appreciate that. Thank you. All right, pillar number 5, honesty and transparency. And both Emily and I, when we first got together, began to realize that we have both had challenges with being honest. Huge challenges. We both grew up in families that were not honest. My parents didn't tell the truth. And so I grew up that you don't talk about certain things. You're not honest about certain things. And we've both really been working with each other to support each other to make it safe to be honest. And that's the one thing I want to say, and then I'll turn it over to Em. It's easy to ask for honesty, but if we really want honesty, we need to make it safe to be honest. And that's really important. What does your partner or the other person need to feel safe to be honest about something vulnerable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I just want to be honest. I grew up in huge deception. Like that's probably the biggest family trauma I have, and that I've done recovery work over, is how to be really transparent and honest. My mom had huge addiction issues, and she still to this day has a hard time admitting it. But then she would like sniff lines in front of me and then say, you know, I don't have an issue. So there's a way that there was a lot of deception of things were going on and I saw them, but it would be covered up with deception and lies. And I learned that you can get away with what you want by hiding it. And there's a certain kind of even reward by being sneaky or by getting away with it. And so that's been like a huge thing too, is like, to what degree do I find gratification in hiding things and getting away with it, which is like a huge, like humbling to be able to even say that to you openly, but it's definitely a part of my shadow that I've had to manage. So that's a little bit about kind of my work with that. That's a pillar that I would say it's gotten a lot stronger, but I'm probably still weaker on that. And I want to say the difference between honesty and transparency for me is honesty is about really speaking and expressing what kind of our honest, authentic truth is, whether it's our feelings. Or transparency is like a more fully embodied experience. It's like, this is what's going on with my body. This is how my body's feeling. It's like a more of a deeper, I would say like a
commitment.
Yeah. It's like a deeper level of honesty. Mm-hmm. Transparency is like, I'm fully going to it's almost like an intimate, very intimate form of honesty. So we might be honest, certain people, but to be super fully vulnerable and transparent about what's really going on, what is happened in my life, like super intimate transparency is usually we feel more comfortable with the people that we love most, hopefully to be able to be that in that depth of sharing.
David.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing that, Emily and Scott. That was amazing. You know, it's really interesting with the honesty and transparency thing. Early on in my life, I used to think like, well, I used to have no filter. And then I got to a point where I would ask, okay, do you really want me to answer that question? Or do you want me to give you what you want to hear? And when I look back, it was an excuse for me to use judgment. It was an excuse for me to be an asshole, you know, and just really, you know, judge people and have an opinion about it. And, you know, like the one finger pointing at you, but three back at me kind of thing.
Right.
And what I wasn't getting until all of the things that I've been working on with Laura and with you guys and with Tom and Bob down the hall, and is that it's about really understanding my own vulnerability and knowing that I was scared to be transparent and to be that vulnerable. So now I'm learning that, and I'm over the "it absolutely sucks" mode.
Aww.
So I'm now at the point where it's like, okay, I can do this most of the time, So it's really an interesting thing, and that just struck me as you guys were talking about that. And it's just, I never really thought about that before, and so I guess I was just calling myself out on that. So
Thank you, David. That's beautiful.
I'll be here all night.
One thing that I do a lot when I'm about to share something that's very vulnerable or honest about something, a way I'm feeling, or maybe a desire for a certain need to be met, is I'll actually say, I'm really scared to tell you this because I'm scared that you'll either pull away love or that I won't get my needs met. And
when I hear those words, my sphincter muscle contracts. But I know, okay, we're about to enter tender territory.
Right. So just saying that vulnerably, it kind of sets it up so that there's this underlying current of that's what's going on for me. So it helps us to move deeper into connection, and then I'm able to see how he responds to that. And then how open is he to be willing to kind of hear maybe a request or a desire that I have.
Well, that's great. Thank you for that, because I mean, just even hearing those words come out, and I was visualizing saying them, I had shit from north and south going on, man. I mean, it was coming in from the sides. I mean, you were talking about locking up like an 8-day clock. I just was like, whoa, okay, to get to that point, to be able to say, listen, I'm really scared to tell you this. I mean, I could see myself just throwing up and passing out, and not even.
I want to say, I love you too, David. Also, I'll let her know what I need in order to really drop in and be present, because I need loving touch. I need for us to be sitting close to each other and for her to be touching me. I need her to go slow, and I need to be able to be honest in my reaction.
Yeah,
I'll almost always get to where she wants me to get to, but I need to be able to be honest about my process. And my process might include painful feelings, fear, insecurities, doubts. So I need to be willing to go through that journey again if we're going to be honest and transparent. Because otherwise it's not about her just, okay, well, this is what I want Scott to do. Yeah, I'm going to spill the beans and I want Scott to say yes. And I'm going to be vulnerable and he'll say yes, and that's that.
Right. And if he doesn't say yes, then I'm really going to get pissed off, and I'm either going to pull away love or I'm going to make him wrong and do what I want anyway.
Right, exactly.
Can I just say that I see Paul rubbing his head? Paul's going like this. He's going like, oh my God.
I'm sweating, okay? Every part of my masculinity is sweating right now.
Thank you. I want to thank the Brotherhood of the Sperm, Paul and David, for dropping in. Doug, thank you for dropping into my world and collaborating. Kate, we haven't heard from Kate today, so I'm going to unmute you, Kate.
I'm just saying that if that particular approach has this detrimental effect on all the men's sphincters, is that really an effective tool to use, or maybe not? What do the other men think about that, or is that?
That's why I came in with. It's not like she just says, I want to show something vulnerable and spill the beans and it's over in 30 seconds. That's why I said my part of it is letting her know what I need, if I'm in the space, what kind of connection I need. And I need it to be safe for me to explore and express my responses. And even if I have reptile brain reactions, I will almost always get to where she wants me to get to because I love her.
Right.
But
and I do want to say,
get there.
As a heart ninja too, that's the work that I also, if I care about my partner, that I also create. So I would say, I'm scared. I have a desire that I'd love to share with you. I'm scared to share it with you because you might get upset, or you might not be okay with it. what do you need to have that conversation, sweetie? Like, what do you need to feel safe? Like, that's also my work too. So equally, he wants to be self-responsible and like taking care of his needs, but you know, not a lot of people have those tools. So it's also for us to be able to be sensitive to set our partner up to win, because the more we set our partner up to win, the more we set ourselves up to win.
Yeah.
And that's the difference right there, because and that's where I have to manage my discomfort in relation to his reactions, which is the hardest thing to do, because I just want him to get off of it and give me my way.
Right.
So
and there's a part of me that's in the awareness of my fear that if I don't get there fast enough, she's going to judge me. Right. So again, it's like, you know, really going slow. Paul, you want to?
Yeah, if people drew a pyramid and there was like 3 layers of it, there's 3 types of relationships. The bottom layer, and this is answering what Kate was saying, but the bottom layer is all about survival of the relationship. And it really doesn't matter whether the people are happy or not. I'm not giving the bastard a divorce. The next layer up is all about comfort, and that's where we don't have these uncomfortable conversations. But rather than expressing what's alive in us, people go have affairs, they get their needs met in all these other ways. And then the top group is about growth. And it's like, there's lots of really uncomfortable conversations I have with my beloved, because we're committed to growing, we're committed to being open and honest, and open and honest relationships are rare. And it's like it's a rare commitment. I'm more committed to growing than I am to protecting myself and being small.
Yeah. Beautiful, Paul.
Knowing Scott and Emily, they both are like fully committed to living this practice, and it's not easy. And there's no simple way. Like if someone comes up and says, I'm going to talk to you about cancer, and you go, well, couldn't you have said it like a different way? It's like sometimes you got to talk about something, and it's going to be awkward and painful, no matter how they bring it up. But this is like setting it up better.
Yeah.
And yes, it still makes the men's sphincters tighten up, but there's probably some things we could say that would make the feminine tighten up too.
Right. One quick thing. I just want to acknowledge Allison's comment about what happens when both people get triggered. And that's why it's so important to go slow, acknowledge I'm feeling triggered, and call those connected timeouts. You know, and we teach about connected timeouts and in our online course.
Actually, you can go to www.howperfectlyhuman.com and get like a 10-minute video on how to take connected timeouts. So that's like a really old video. So you'll see.
I have long hair.
Not really short hair.
Howperfectlyhuman.com. Luciana, I saw your hand go up, but actually we're running out of time. Can it wait, sweetheart? Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
so we're going to go back to the next one.
So again, remembering to rate yourself. Dum-ba-ba-dum.
Emotional accountability is our next pillar. You know, and one of the things that we're doing more and more is teaching the skills of emotional intelligence. We're really excited in that we're working with David and Laura and a couple of other Love Coach Academy people on bringing emotional intelligence into the workplace, into the corporate market field. And so emotional accountability and really being vulnerable. You know, most men, when they were kids, learned it wasn't cool to have feelings, because feelings were for girls or for sissies or for, you know, even worse words than that. And so we developed cover emotions. Anger is a common cover emotion. It's not cool for me to show that I'm scared or confused or vulnerable, but it is okay for me to just get angry. So that's an example of a cover emotion. And in emotional accountability, it's like learning to say, okay, my first reaction is anger, but under my anger, I'm really scared. Under my anger, I'm really sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just basic emotional literacy. Like, to what degree am I even aware of my emotions? So many of us are operating on automatic pilot, that we're just kind of abandoned from what's really going on with us. So it's a lot of really, again, the self-reflection, the tuning in, and really checking in and listening to your body listening to the sensation, slowing down enough to actually go to make it matter what's going on with you, and to actually get clear in identifying what certain feelings feel like. Like, for example, it was easier for me because I learned to be like the rescuer hero in the family. It was easier for me to be in that place of like what I would call empowerment, but I was operating from like actually the place of fear. But the fear felt like empowerment because I would be so like, I got to get shit done. I got to control shit. I got to make shit happen. And so I had no idea I was scared. In fact, like it's just been like the last year that I'm really like, I'm terrified. And I was so disconnected from, because fear was so buried. And it was easier for me to feel like empowered in control, in anger, in like domination. And so it was challenging for me to like let go of that protection, to be able to go, okay, what are even some of the feelings that I've been disowned from, or I can't even identify, or I've labeled something as something else. Like, so it's an ongoing process, and it's definitely humbling for sure.
Yeah. I like what Rebecca just wrote. The challenge for all honesty is from the Greek word anestra, which means the persistent willingness to face the facts. Beautiful. That's beautiful. I had promised all of you that about halfway through, and we're actually about 2/3 of the way through, we were going to make a little offer to some of you. So now is a good time for that, I think.
Go for it.
Yeah. So about 2 weeks ago, Emily and I started doing breakthrough sessions, offering a 30-minute breakthrough for new friends, new clients. And we've really enjoyed doing it. And we've met some wonderful new people, such as Doug and Rebecca that way. And so this week is our last week that we're offering free breakthrough sessions. And honestly, it's for people that it's kind of like an exchange. On our end, we're going to spend up to 30 minutes really helping you with one relationship challenge that you have. And at the end, we're going to see if you are interested in purchasing an ongoing package of coaching with Emily or Scott or both of us, or if you're interested in our Relationship Mastery course, which starts on Sunday. And we've got 3 spots left in Relationship Mastery. And many of you are already committed to it. Doug and Rebecca are doing it. Paul is doing it. David is doing it. So if any of you are interested in applying for the breakthrough session, I'm going to put into the chat box a link. And this link is to fill out a survey. It's a 4-question survey. It takes 2 minutes. When you fill out that survey, then we know you're kind of serious. We know what's alive for you, and we will contact you about setting up a free breakthrough session.
Yeah. So again, like we want to feel that you have a desire to actually get supported, and that you're committed to show up to do the work for yourself. We show up to meet you, and then we see what's a good win-win to be able to take you to the next level of where you want to go.
I also want to acknowledge that there are going to be people watching this video afterwards. So for those of you watching the video afterwards and you're not able to access the chat box, you can call or text me if you want a breakthrough session. Call or text me.
Fill out the survey.
No, but they can't fill out the survey if they're coming in. The people that are watching this, they can't access the chat box, so they're not going to be able to get that link.
So we can post the link up wherever we're posting it on Facebook.
Okay, well, we'll do it that way then. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, we'll do it that way. See, this is where I just surrender to my partner. And
right. So right now he could be running a story right now that I'm controlling, and that I stole the center of attention from him, and that he feels made wrong. He could be running all of that, and maybe you are.
No.
Do you feel? And I also interrupted him, so I can own that behavior, which I do quite a bit.
So I'm okay with the suggestion. There's the trigger that comes up for me, and it's not huge, but since we're going to be real and honest, is not letting me do it, my way.
Yeah.
To go in there and change it. And your suggestion is a great idea, so I'm okay with it.
Of course, my suggestion's amazing.
And there it is.
Boom.
Women are usually correct, and learning how to present their wisdom without us feeling like a complete dolt is relationship mastery.
So so sweetie, I want to say that I want to make amends and say that I recognize I interrupted you and I could have really maybe asked permission, and I want to be sensitive to you taking the floor and really stepping up and also supporting you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. I love you
Yeah,
very
love
much.
you too.
Yeah. So there it is, relationship mastery in the real thing. Paul says, how to make your heroes versus servants. Yes, exactly.
Right?
All right, we are going to go back. No Chapo.
No Chapo balls off.
All right. Curiosity, our favorite word. You know, I've got this wonderful book about couples that have been married, happily married for 40 years or more. And the number one quality is curiosity. They say, I'm still curious about this person. I wake up in the morning and I'm wanting to know, what is he thinking? What is she feeling? What's going on with her? Why is he doing that? And maintaining curiosity is essential. Because when we're curious, we're childlike and we're not judgmental, we're open. But when we start putting people into a prison of, oh, well, that's the way he is and he'll never change. That's the way she is and forget it. It creates contraction and the relationship dies.
You know, actually, if we're able to be curious, we're probably moreover out of our reptile brain. We're either halfway in our analytical mind or we're in our frontal lobe, which is great because we're like not operating from that place of total reptile brain reaction. So that's the litmus test. How curious can I be about myself? And how curious am I willing to reflect on what was going on for this other person? If I'm not curious at all, then I'm in my reptile brain.
Yeah.
and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just
You're disconnected.
You're disconnected.
Yeah.
So you got to do the work to help you get back to center and get back to homeostasis and relax your nervous system down so you can get into more of that frontal lobe place.
Yeah. Any thoughts, questions, reflections about curiosity? Who finds himself very curious still? Who's pretty good at maintaining curiosity about their beloveds or the important people in their life? Cool.
Nice.
I'm even seeing Bill and Allison way back there somewhere in the distance raising their hand. Okay, we've got two more, I think. The next one. Oh, no, we got three more. Well, here it is. Empathy and compassion. And boy, these are, of course, the big skills that we're always learning how to be in our frontal lobe, because that's where the empathy center of the brain is. And the most important form of empathy is?
Self-empathy. And so I guess you could rate yourself in two ways on this one. How good am I at self-empathy, really learning to love and honor and acknowledge myself, really giving myself those radical doses of compassion and understanding of why I made that choice or what's going on for me, giving myself that juice, that love. And to what degree am I good at really having compassion for other people? I would say Scott, just to be vulnerable, Scott's really good at getting people right away. He's so compassionate. It's amazing. He's like, lives in a place of really compassion for other people. Me, I'm really good at self-compassion. I'm good at loving myself. I'm not as good at being compassionate with others. So that's my stretch in, is like, how do I really drop more into really getting into other people's world and feeling them. I'm a lot better at it because I've dedicated my life to really becoming good at it. But I'm really good at taking care of myself. So it's really good.
Which has been, I want to say,
it's the medicine that we have
medicine,
for each other.
She's inspiring me to learn how to take better care of myself and not murder myself. And so she inspires me to take better care of myself. And
he inspires me to not be so narcissistic and in my own world.
That was honest and transparent.
It's cool. That's the amazing thing is, like, most people, like, we have so many relationship differences, and we're like, people come to us because we're so different, and yet we use the differences as a way to grow closer. Yeah. And most people would, if they were in our shoes, it would be done. Like, it would be just like, because we're so different. I mean, we're at different life stages. He's 20, is it 26?
26 years older.
He's 26 years older. than I am. I'm in a place where I love to have a lot of freedom and go out and explore, have a lot of me time. He's kind of wanting to drop more deeper into a level of just being in a devotional, kind of more just us. We have a lot of differences that we have to work and manage, but it's helping us to become closer and better human beings.
And better teachers and coaches, because the more we manage our differences, the more we can help you manage yours. So. All right. Anybody have anything they want to say about the last couple of minutes? Anything up to anybody?
Empathy, compassion.
Empathy and compassion. Daniel, you are unmuted.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
I was going to say, you know what? I don't think I really got that skill as a kid growing up. I mean, I'd see family members that maybe got sick or something was going on and they were ill, but not really knowing how to empathize with it. I could get the fact that maybe it hurt or maybe they were in pain, but how to really break down and really feel for them,
Yeah.
I think I would just kind of clam up. I don't think I'd kind of lock up. I don't think I'd really know how to respond. I think I was much better with my kids. I mean, I worked in construction. I've seen people cut their fingers off and shoot nail guns through their fingers and stuff, and I just go, ouch, man, I know that hurt, but try to really connect and empathize. It's something, it's an art I'm still learning. Yeah.
Well, there's a time and a place. There's a time to give empathy, and there's a time to take more charge, be more masculine, if you will.
Sure.
In our relationships, in your time with Kate, I think more empathy would probably serve you well.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the construction line, when you're
She's nodding her head.
out on the construction field, when you're barking orders to somebody or making sure that they need to come on time and you don't really want to hear about how the car wouldn't start, it's time to give empathy. So, we've got to pick and choose, which world we're in. But in the world of relationships, empathy and compassion and seeking to understand each other is
It's very important ninja skill for sure.
Kate, I have unmuted you.
Okay, I think I need to develop more empathy for Daniel not having feelings of empathy, because sometimes I get that blank stare, like just this blank, doesn't know what he's feeling thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe I just need to understand that he doesn't come from that place where he has that, where he's working on it, but that's not how he was raised. Yeah. It's not what he knew. Not like it was how I was raised either, but I spent 50 years trying to develop that. And I think maybe sometimes I just get really hurt that I'm not getting empathy from him back like I want it or need it. And maybe I need to realize that that's not his natural thing.
Kate, I'm so proud of you. That was really awesome.
Thank you, Heart Ninja Kate.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Kate, you are,
Yeah.
Not that I'll remember that when I'm actually needing the empathy and compassion.
You know what Kate just did? She really practiced curiosity, right? That's a really wonderful example of curiosity of, oh, wow, maybe when he gets that blank look on his face, it's because it just doesn't come naturally to him to drop into the level of empathy or to acknowledge the feelings in the way that I wish that he would. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your curiosity and again, seeking to understand. That's beautiful.
And in those moments to again, give yourself that radical dose of self-empathy. Oh, wow, I'm really wishing, he'd really acknowledge my feelings right now. And wow, this feels sad right now that he's not able to meet me. And I so want to be connected. So that's you talking to yourself inside of yourself. Mm-hmm. And then recognizing as you're able to give him empathy for not being in touch with his feelings, that is going to be your best chance for him to feel understood. So then he can step toward you in connection.
Mm-hmm. And he might surprise me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm open to being radically surprised.
Yay. Great. Thank you for that. That's beautiful.
Paul, I'm going to read something that Paul wrote, and then I'm going to call on you, Al. Paul wrote, men and women are very different when it comes to empathy. Men have a default setting of it's either our fault or it's our responsibility. That's a good one. And then Luciana writes, even though I can feel empathy, I automatically go to the same default. Same thing. It's my fault or my responsibility. So that's a really good clarification. Yeah. Thank you. Al, I'm unmuting you. We can hear you now. Al, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I found I couldn't write one number for this one because I have sort of one number for my close friends and another much smaller number for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I found I just, with my close friends, I'm there for them. I'll listen to people talk for hours if they need to. But then with people who just are emotional leeches, or just it seems they just never get better no matter how much you help them, or just strangers coming up to me, I just put up a shield.
Yeah.
I have just so much energy, and
that's okay.
That's okay.
It's called
oh yeah, it is.
All boundaries.
It's called boundaries, and we talk a lot about that in our mastery program. It's like a big piece is like getting really clear in our boundaries and being okay with our boundaries. Seeing them as a sign of self-respect and self-empowerment,
self-love
for sure.
Yeah,
which is our next pillar.
All right.
Speaking of self-love.
Okay, here we go. The next pillar is self-commitment. So it's really this commitment to myself, that am I being an embodiment of love and being of service through that expression? So to what degree do I really make myself a priority? To what degree do I honor my own needs and my values? To what degree do I make loving choices that really honor me? And through that, then how am I being of service through that expression? How do I now, take that out into the world? How do I imbue that into my relationships that matter most? How do I add that love through my service, through my words, through my work, through my actions? I want to say that I have a personal belief that spirituality has very little to do with going to church or going to temple or reading books. To me, spirituality in a real practical way is doing whatever we're doing with love. If you're washing the dishes, doing it with love. If you're like Al just talked about, listening to a friend, doing it with love. And all professions, or almost all professions, are noble and honorable if you do it with love. And that's just something I wanted to add about that. And looking at this one, it's like, okay, how can I be an embodiment of love and service?
Yeah.
Just whatever it is you're doing in your world, to do it with love. So I'm curious if anybody has any thoughts or responses to this one. Who has already kind of come to the conscious awareness that with something that you do in life that's not seen as spiritual, paying the bills or washing dishes, that you've already come to the place of learning to do it with love? Who's kind of already got to that place in their life? Cool. What a great group of people. Wow. Almost all of us. And for anybody who hasn't gotten there, that's why we are learning and practicing and sharing these tools. Very cool.
And also, to what degree do you make yourself a priority? Your needs, taking good care of yourself, loving yourself. So that's he's more focusing on doing other things with love. I'm that pillar is more like, how do I make my needs, myself, a priority? Do I love myself when I need it the most? Yeah. Right.
So there it is. There's the different, and they're both accurate. They're both part of it. It's like
that's both
love of
part
self,
of the pillar.
love of others. Yeah. Self-commitment.
Self-commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So self-love commitment, or self-commitment of love.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. We're going to go to the last pillar. And thank you for your patience here. The last one. I love this one. Sacred mirrors. We are all such sacred mirrors for each other. David and Laura are so good at being sacred mirrors. And Emily and I talk a lot about this with each other, with our couples, just recognizing that ultimately, there's a pretty strong spiritual belief that God is everything. and God wanted to experience everything it could imagine. And that ultimately there really is the oneness. And we know that from a scientific point of view, that's true. The unified field of ever-changing molecules is the world we're living in. And so we're all sacred mirrors reflecting back and forth. Sometimes we reflect back beautiful things. Sometimes we reflect back painful things. So if we choose to see ourselves in everything and everyone, moment by moment, what am I learning about myself from this reflection?
And that's where, again, the power of self-reflection comes in, and curiosity, which are the other pillars to kind of take this to the next level. So whenever someone pisses me off, or I feel triggered, or there's a challenge, or I feel like I'm in judgment, it's immediately usually a sacred mirror of either something I've judged in myself, something I disown, something I don't want to feel, again, a vulnerable part of myself that I don't want to acknowledge. And so again, that's the opportunity, is to see everything and everyone, Trump, whatever, as basically your spiritual teacher.
Yes, Laura.
Okay. Oh, hi. I just have a real quick story about this guy who was in this village, and he was giving a big feast, and he said, you know, God's going to show up. And so they all waited, and God never came at noon. And the next day, this dog came around the village, and he was all beaten up, and he said, what happened? He goes, well, God never showed up, but a dog did, and I beat him up. And God said, I was the dog. You told me to show up hungry. So, you know what I mean? We just seeing God and everything. And I know that's kind of a pun, because dog is God backward.
Right.
I was wondering if you're going to go with that. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you know, I just wanted real quick, if I can, when we had the little timeout to go and come back into the meeting, there was a situation that happened earlier where we were identical images of each other. And we had a situation where, you know, we were able to reflect on it, you know, clean up something that had happened earlier. So when we got here, we both had tight skin, you know, there was a reason for it. But, you know, we got there. So we used that time out just to clean up the mirroring image of ourselves. I had phrased something to her that, you know, in retrospect, you know, I have delayed intelligence all over me. And in retrospect, I wouldn't have verbalized this sentence in the way that I had. And of course, she didn't want to react the way she did. And then we were able to sit there and go, wow, you know, I can't believe that I said it that way. And I get the way you reacted, but I know you don't want to react that way. And so we both were able to work that out and apologize to one another. And, you know, I'm going to choke her ass out as soon as we get off this thing. No.
But I do want to say that, Doug, what you said, Doug, was so big for me, because when you said that, you know, like, it was really hard for me to own as I saw myself reacting, and I didn't even know why. I was so in primitive brain that I felt such deep shame to come back and clean it up. Like, it was so hard for me to come back and clean it up, because, you know, I wanted to be justified in my response, because I felt so much shame as I was responding.
So real, so real. Doug, I saw you waving your hand, so I have unmuted you. If you guys, is there something one of you wants to say?
No, I just wave sometimes. It's just very exciting to be here, and so I flap. It's no thing.
Flap away, buddy. Flap away.
He's a flapper.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well,
Flappage.
well, we want to thank everybody for joining us. Oh, Lusana. We haven't heard from Lusana yet.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate tonight, and just the awareness, Emily, that you shared about honesty, the lack of honesty as you grew up, made me really consider, oh my God, like, whoa. So, and Scott, what you shared about, you know, being in service, and it's like, that's a default for me, whereas self-care and self-awareness is not. And so it's like needing that balance between
Yes. So for you, Lusana, more Emily medicine, right? Getting more
exactly. And yeah, and the self-honesty, because to be able to be transparent with myself, let alone with somebody else. It's going to take some work, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's where it does. That's why we're so passionate about the relationship mastery course, because it's like the course where I get super juiced up, because it's all about really, how do I get more in touch with myself? How do I become more self-aware and self-actualized? Because the more I become self-realized and self-actualized through my own self-work, you know, that's why in codependency work, in recovery work, it's all about looking at ourself. It's self-inventory work, and it's humbling, it's challenging, it's hard, but it's how we become a better human being and more evolved, which then affects all of our relationships. So, but I also love the balance too of when he saw that pillar, he immediately was like, how do you do things outside of yourself with love? And I'm like, whoa, honey. So I think, again, there's that balance too. And I think that the great thing is because we both have that polarity of a difference, we offer different medicine to people that come to us, right? Like,
beautiful.
Thank you so much. So I guess I'd love for people to maybe, I know we have like just a little bit of time here, but who would like to share as a celebration where they're the strongest? What's their strongest pillar?
What's one of you that's willing to say, you know, I really realized I am strong in the pillar of, I mean, Lusana just shared she's strong in the pillar of doing acts of service and doing things for others with love. So that's one celebration we heard. Who else wants to share a celebration? I'm gonna take a little shot here. You don't mind, but Christina, we haven't heard from you.
Would you be willing to share your strongest pillar?
Yeah, what's something that?
I'm helping my husband pack for a business trip for the week, so I'm in and out. I'm gonna wing it here. The strongest one is my commitment to. I don't remember all the exact pillars, but my commitment to be committed.
And to self.
Yeah, self-commitment.
It's books. It's my husband and I are open to anything and everything that will help, and we just like input from everybody and everything. So.
And again, that's curiosity. That's an example of both self-commitment and curiosity, being willing to just keep learning. So that's a beautiful one. Thank you. Anybody else want to share a celebration of a pillar they're really strong in? Okay, Kate, yay. I am unmuting you.
Being honest. Maybe sometimes almost people tell me I'm too honest. Like, honest. I don't know. I think I'm very honest. And I think sometimes people react to that in me, and I don't think they're used to it, or I don't know what. Maybe I go over the edge, and the honesty, like somebody else says, comes off like a judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think that I have a clear vision about when something's going on, and I can be very honest about it in the moment.
So that's why I said, Kate, honesty goes hand in hand with safety. Safety and honesty need to be best friends. And if we want someone to be honest, or if we're being honest, how can we combine that with creating safety?
And it's really stepping in and honoring other people's boundaries. You really like setting containers up to win, rather than just divulging your world on somebody else. That's like really having those really creating, being aware of other people's boundaries and checking in. What do they need?
Yeah, that's really
discernment. Okay, I'm going to now ask you who would be willing to step up and be vulnerable in front of the group and share the pillar that they feel the most challenged by?
Oh, Al.
Yay!
God bless you, Al. Which
Vulnerability muscles.
Al and then Paul.
Well, I looked at my numbers, and the one that I was the lowest on was honoring myself.
Wow.
Number 9.
Yeah.
And what I've come to realize is that over the past couple of years, I am no longer comfortable with being in my house by myself. And I went through a long period in recovery. I'm a drug addict like many people, and where I was, had come to a place where I was comfortable. And in looking at this, I realized that it's And I went through a long period where I was taking care of my mom, and then had my sister pass away, and have been taking care of an estate for years, and many other things have just piled up into this completely unmanageable place, where I cannot keep up with everything I'm responsible for. And then I started running away and just started escaping in all these different ways. And so then I feel guilty for, not managing this huge mess that's been given to me, and I'm just further behind. So I am not comfortable in my own skin, and I need to do whatever it takes to get back there. And a lot of it is just spending a lot of time doing a lot of things that aren't very pleasant, that are just boring, to me. And I need to put, like people were saying, put that love into it, where I'm doing this with a sense of taking care of myself. But it's so overwhelming. I complete something and I feel like I've gotten nowhere. So it's going to be a challenge.
Oh, that's really vulnerable. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I just want to say to be able to give yourself lots of self-validation and self-appreciation, and to celebrate no matter what it is, even if it's small, even if it's things, is just to do that self-gratitude piece. It really helps us to not fall into the place of focusing on the deficiency of what we haven't done or what's not enough.
As entrepreneurs, there's always more to do. And one of the things I've learned is it's really important for Emily, for us to celebrate and appreciate
everything
what we did get accomplished.
Yeah, because it's overwhelming. We can easily get overwhelmed because there's so much still more to do, and then we're less effective, right?
Last person I'm going to call on, because I can tell that I'm about to start sneezing like crazy. Paul.
Well, thank you. It's almost a toss-up. Sacred mirrors, it's like there's times I have a hard time going, that's a sacred mirror for me. I look at people like Trump and I go, no, not sacred mirror. That's So, and my beloved at times. And then the self-commitment. So it was like a trilogy here, the self-commitment and then the self-reflection. With the lowest, those three all together about the same.
Thank you for sharing that. And I also really appreciate all the wonderful notes that you put into the chat box, Paul. Those were really wonderful. And I want to say something. Sacred mirror doesn't always mean, oh, that's me. So if you're looking at Trump, and that he's choosing to increase the military budget and decrease human welfare and, support for people, you can go, you know what? That really mirrors to me how those are not my values. It's reflecting to me that if I were a president, I would want to decrease military spending and increase humanitarian aid. So that's another way of using the sacred mirror is, it's not that we always have to find that person within ourselves, although that's a powerful thing to do, but to also point out, no, you know what? That's like when I'm angry because this doesn't meet my values. And getting in touch with your values to the sacred mirror. So just wanted to mention.
That's helpful.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we're really excited about Sunday, the start of Relationship Mastery, and all of you who are going to be doing it with us. And maybe some of you who haven't registered for it, you might consider doing that. It's going to be an amazing 6-month journey that will transform your life.
Yeah, and if you're interested, again, fill out the survey, and then let's set up a breakthrough session so that we can see if you're qualified for that program, and or there's another way that we can support you. Because it is an advanced program.
It's an advanced program. It's powerful. It's, and I'm excited about it. I've got this head cold, and I've been going into a whole thing of, okay, well, you know what? I'm about to do Relationship Mastery. I need to up my game. So I'm cleansing out and purifying a lot of my own toxicity so that I can play and do Relationship Mastery for myself at a higher level, as well as teaching.
And that's the great thing about these deep dives that we do, these journeys, is that we do the work with you.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already done several of the courses, but we do it again because that's how we're committed to actually keep growing. And it's just like peeling off an onion, you know, you just get better at this stuff, and it goes deeper and you find out more about yourself. So we actually do the deep dives and the homework or the soul work too, and vulnerably share that on the Facebook page. And it's a way for you to see that, hey, we're guides, we're teachers, but we're doing this stuff right alongside of you. There's no better than, and you're here and we're here. It's like, no, we're riding the waves with you. Yeah, we might have some tools and maybe some greater practice in certain areas or a certain mastery in certain areas. But again, we're riding the wave of being human with you. So we hope that you do join us.
Thank you, everybody. Love each and every one of you. Looking forward to our next connection with you.
Have a wonderful evening. Happy Memorial Day.
Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye. I'm going to save the chat and end the meeting. There we go.